Hello and welcome once again to the Constitution Study. My name is Paul Engel. I am glad you could join me. We are here to return the Constitution to its rightful owners. That is, we the people of the United States of America. I'm glad you could join me today. If this is your first time, interesting topic today. I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope you go back and check out some of the other episodes where I've covered different issues and different topics related to the Constitution. If you are a returning visitor, thank you very much. It is dedication. It is the work of learning and understanding our Constitution that we need to do if we are to remain a nation of free people. Today should be an interesting topic. I hope you'll check things out. Go head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. There you can find any notes I have on this particular episode. You'll also see the blog post that's related to this. I'm actually talking today about socialism and the favorable view socialism has obtained in this country over the last few years. And, it's funny. I hear more and more surveys, and increasingly they show, especially among younger adults, a favorable view of socialism. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about why this is good and why this is bad and questions about history, but this is a podcast about the Constitution. So why does this change of attitude, what does it have to do with the Constitution? What I really believe is that these surveys show the success of the government-run school system and the failure of everyday Americans to understand the government that our Constitution created. We tend to think of the Constitution as this abstract thing. The federal government did not exist until it was created, and it was created by the Constitution. And for decades, we've turned our education of our children over to this government. First it was started out with the states, but more and more the federal government is directing the education of our students, what they are and are not to be taught and under what circumstances. So really, we shouldn't be surprised when the government teaches the children we've put them in charge of that the government can and should provide everything. I mean, really, what is socialism but a system where the government provides or guarantees most, if not all, of their citizens' needs? This shows that we did not learn John Jay's lesson of our need to read and study the Constitution for ourselves and to teach our children to be free. John Jay, if you don't remember, he was the very first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. And one of his more famous sayings is, quote, "Every member of the state ought diligently to read and to study the Constitution of his country and to teach the rising generation to be free. By knowing their rights, they will sooner perceive when they are violated and be the better prepared to defend and assert them." Close quote. You see, somewhere along the line, we stopped teaching our own children about the Constitution and the union that it created. We no longer invested the time and effort to teach our children to be free. We were convinced that turning our education of our children over to quote-unquote experts was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, turning our children over to the experts became turning them over to the government for education. And now those chickens have come home to roost. Now, 45% or more of young Americans have a favorable view of socialism. Apparently, more and more Americans think that turning over their education, health care, salary, and in fact their entire future to the government is a good idea. So what does this have to do with the Constitution? Simply, socialism is diametrically opposed to the limited Republican form of government our founders created. The 10th Amendment of the Constitution reads, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people." When the federal government was formed, it was given a specific and limited list of powers it was authorized to perform. The 10th Amendment was meant to guarantee that the federal government would remain focused on the powers delegated to it and leave the states to handle the rest. While I have found nothing in the Constitution that prohibits individual states from instituting their own form of socialism, as long as it's done by elected representatives of the people, Article 4, Section 4 says the states have to have a Republican form of government. And, by the way, if that government does not violate their constitutionally protected rights. However, the Constitution strictly prohibits the federal government from taking control over areas that have not been specifically delegated to it. Not that what the Constitution says seems to matter very much in Washington anymore, but that's what it says. That's the law. The supreme law of the land says, guess what, feds? If you weren't specifically told you can do this, doing so is illegal. It is against the Constitution. It is illegal. I don't care what laws you pass, because those laws are not fitting with the Constitution. Therefore, they are not the supreme law of the land. You see, since nothing in the Constitution delegates to the federal government the power to control domestic affairs outside of their ensuring regular commerce between the states, every goal of socialism at the federal level is prohibited by the Constitution and is therefore illegal. Let me say that again. Illegal. So when we hear politicians saying they wish to institute socialism, what they wish to do is they're telling you right up front, we want to break the law. We want to violate the Constitution. We don't care what it says. We want what we want, and we want you to support us doing it. That way, we can get away with it. We are fast ditching the idea of being the land of the free, when the coming generations wish us to be the land of the dependent. The home of the brave will soon be the home of the eternal child, begging for Uncle Sam to take care of them. So the next time you see or hear someone extolling the benefits of socialism, or a politician proposing another program where you get quote-unquote free stuff, remember what they're really asking you to do is to hand another part of your life and your freedom over to a government that has proven over and over and over again to be completely incapable of doing anything quickly, cheaply, or efficiently. Don't believe me? Look at the post office. Look at the DMV. Look at road construction, military spending, EPA, TSA, VA, Obamacare, Social Security. Sadly, the list goes on and on and on. There's a reason why our founding fathers did not want these powers in the hands of the federal government. They knew they would be incompetent at it. Why, oh why then do we wish to continue handing these things over to a government that is already out of control, already ignores the law, already has shown itself incompetent, and shown throughout history, throughout other nations, just plain doesn't work? Everything socialism offers is unconstitutional and therefore illegal. We, the people of the nation, have lost even those basic understanding of the nation we've inherited. And now our children are willing to sell their freedom for a bowl of porridge. They are unaware of the birthright they are abandoning. And it's all our fault. If we don't want our children to live as wards of the state, we need to educate ourselves and them on the gifts they have received as citizens of this great nation. We can no longer allow our government's indoctrination to go unchallenged. We must find the truth and then teach it if we are to remain free. So the next time you hear a young person tout the benefits of socialism, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed if you have not done absolutely everything you can to teach the rising generations to be free, because they are being taught to be slaves, to be serfs, to be subjects of an authoritarian government. And the simple fact that they get to elect them every so often doesn't change the fact that our government is taking over. And they've indoctrinated our children to think it was a good idea. So, as you can tell, that rant kind of gets me going. I'm saddened to see the state of this country and the direction the young people are going to. I find it amazing to see some of the foolishness that comes out of the mouths of people who claim to be intelligent, people who claim the authority, people who wish to lead this country. And I keep looking and saying, it's our fault. That's why the Constitution study is here, to help us educate ourselves and to educate our children on the blessings of liberty that have been handed to us and that we are simply throwing away. I hope you'll head over to the Constitution study. Please sign up for my mailing list. I'm trying to get some interesting events together, and that's how I'll make a lot of announcements. If you do, you'll get a copy of my essay, absolutely free, How the 16th and 17th Amendment Destroyed the Republic. Sign up, register, subscribe to the podcast. You can find them on Apple Podcasts. I'm setting up some other podcast distributions. I have, there's a channel on YouTube and on Facebook. You can follow them there as well. Mostly though, please, I want you to, if you would, please head to the website. On the menu at the top, you'll see Ask a Question. And I'm really looking forward. I'm looking for people to ask questions, to find out, how I'm doing and what information would you like to hear about the Constitution. And if you can, please, there's a link to subscribe to my Patreon page. I'm trying to fund this podcast and the blogs and the other work that I do. It is a fair amount of work, takes time, and I'm looking for people to come alongside and to join me. People who are willing to put in some work and help change first their local government. And by changing the local government, maybe we can change our states. By changing our states, maybe, just maybe, we can change the federal government as well. So that's it. That's it for this episode of the Constitution study. I hope it made you think. I hope in some ways it got you frustrated at the state of things. I hope you will follow up by reading the Constitution, by following the work that we're doing here, by finding others who will teach you what the Constitution study actually says. So I'm glad that you came here today. I hope to see you again the next time at the Constitution study. Thank you.